Hello, this is wmpyr. Just the other day, I watched a praying mantis kung fu video where it looked like an instructor was training in his backyard. His backyard looked like it was made to where he could accommodate students and they could train there. It was just outdoors in the nature, but it also looked like a place where they could actually train. So this guy was doing praying mantis forms, okay, and that's all the video was. He was just doing forms, and so the first question in my mind was, can somebody train this way, just doing what I saw, and become better, or get to the point where they could have some self-defense skills? So doing what he did, can a person do that? You know, in other words, is it useful for self-defense? And from what I saw, my answer was 100% yes. Okay. Um, the movements that he was making and stuff, uh, the way his body mechanics was, it looked to me like the way he was moving and the way he was doing the form would condition the body for speed, for power, for explosiveness, for agility, for quick, rapid movements. And these are all things that would help you out in a real life situation. So I saw him doing all of that plus cardio. You got to be fit to do what he was doing. So, um, do I think those things that I saw him do, the attributes that I saw, would that help a person? 100%. 100%. So my answer is yes. The other thing, real quick, I probably should have said this first, was that watching the video, is he legit or is he not? That comes first, right? And now I don't know anything about praying mantis kung fu, really. My knowledge is minimal, close to zero. So, um, not to say that I haven't trained with praying mantis people, actually. I have, but, very small knowledge, okay? And from my perspective, though, and I could not tell you, I can't tell you from watching the video and because of my knowledge base, if his form was legit or not, or which branch lineage it comes from, or what. I can't tell you that, okay? I have no idea. And another thing I can't tell you is he a good person or not? Just because he's disciplined doesn't mean he's a good person. Just because he looks like he's doing the form well doesn't mean he's a good person at all. So I have no idea if this guy's a good person or if he's the biggest jerk on the planet, or if he's a con artist. I have no idea. All I could tell you is what he was doing and what I saw takes discipline, and he's obviously put in the time. And the other thing that I can also tell you is that, kind of like the way, if a person who's done ballet watches TV and sees some people dancing, they can go, oh, this person has had classical training, or this person has actually practiced, or they have a really good coach, or this person has no idea what they're doing, or they just learned this for this movie right here, and it's very awkward for them. Just like a person can tell like that, even though praying mantis kung fu is not my thing, just by watching his body mechanics, I could tell you that he's legit. Okay, he's legit in the sense that his body mechanics, that he put in a lot of time and his body mechanics are good. Now, whether the form is real or not, I cannot tell you any of that, but he is legit in that sense of body mechanics. Okay, so that's what I could tell you about that. Now, the next part I want to go into is, now once you go, okay, can this be helpful to a person in self-defense? My answer is yes. What I saw there, 100% yes. Now, what about compared to boxing? How would he do against the boxer? Or is it better if I just went and learned boxing? Okay. And, the one of the things that I want to talk about is that Kung Fu for a lot of people may seem mystical, and it may seem very, very confusing and complex, and they go, what am I learning? What is this? I don't know what this is. Boxing, they're punching, so it's very easy to understand what you're doing. So boxing is very clear cut, simple, right? In that sense, you look at it, you get it. Okay, he's a boxer. He's gonna punch. That's what he does. The kung fu guy, you're looking at it and go, okay, I see punches and kicks and stuff, but it looks more like a dance. What is that? Why is he jumping around? Why is he getting into a low stance? Why is he turning and twisting? And it doesn't look like evasion, like a boxer, or defense or footwork. It's different. So it can be unclear. So in that sense, boxing has the advantage, in my opinion. Now, what I want you guys to understand, this is my opinion, is that Kung Fu, same with Karate, and maybe even Filipino martial arts, right, of Kali, Eskrima, and Arnis, but more so Kung Fu and Karate, both of those, to me, is kind of like, I don't want to make this religious because I don't want to offend people, and then once you mention religion, things go kind of crazy. So in a way, it's kind of like the Bible, right, where the Bible can mean totally different things to different people. So I've met people, and they'll quote the Bible, and I'm kind of like, you have no idea what you're talking about, or it might just be a very low level where they just repeating it like a parrot, and that helps them, makes them feel good, or whatever. Okay. And then there's other people, very, very smart people that I've met. They've broken down, they've studied, researched. I mean, these are scholars, okay, like PhD people. And their meaning of the same, passage or whatever is totally different. And I listen to it and go, whoa, that was deep. What the heck? So, it helps different people with different levels, okay, in different ways, if that makes sense. So karate, kung fu, same idea to me. Okay, so this, whatever, for someone at a higher level, this might be a weak point strike where they're actually hitting the weak point. And then for someone, at a lower level, this might be a grab, or it might be a joint lock, or it might be a strike. It just depends on what level it is you are and what understanding it is. And it's not that one is more right than the other. It depends on what can you do at your level. Whatever you can do, whatever works for you, that's the answer. So at your level right now, which might be, a year later, you're going to be maybe at another level. So then, the answer that you have now and the answer that you have a year later, they're going to be different. But as long as they both work for you, as long as they both make sense to you, then they're right. They're both correct, So that is the way that I view Kung Fu and Karate, without going into arguments where people get distracted about what's right, what's wrong. No, a high block is not a high block. And, they argue about that stuff. And for those people, hey, man, you stay in that argument. It's an endless cycle of argument. Good luck to you. Good luck to you. For me, like I said, this is the answer. It has multiple answers depending on your level. Okay, so that's the way that I view that. So another big difference between praying mantis kung fu and boxing is, in boxing there's a big emphasis on hitting things, and I don't mean for conditioning. I mean for technique. Okay. And that is a big, big difference to me. And I don't know why in Kung Fu or even in Karate, why they didn't come up with a punching bag all these years. They could have. They easily could. It's not like that requires high technology, and hundreds of years ago, 500 years ago, or even more, that they couldn't do that. They could have. They had the technique. If they could make clothes, they can make a punching bag. It's not that difficult. Find a big, strong tree and hang it from there. They could have easily done it. I don't know why. I'm thinking is because that's not the skill set they were interested in, But I feel like doing that is very important. And today, in modern day age, if you're a kung fu guy, if you're a karate guy, you should be training with a punching bag. That should be part of your training method. There's no harm that I know of to do it. You should, okay? Now, like with any exercise equipment, you can hurt yourself, so you got to be careful with it. You got to be smart with it, of course. You don't want to jack up your shoulder, rip off your rotator cuffs, and get tennis elbow and hurt your wrist, and all that kind of stuff can easily happen, but you should incorporate that kind of training into your kung fu, into your karate. In my opinion, I'm a Filipino martial arts guy. It's honestly closer to kung fu and karate than it is to boxing, but Filipino martial arts has a very close relationship with boxing. So not all Filipino martial arts people cross train in boxing, but for me, it's been huge. It's been very, very important. So I cross train in boxing, and I make sure to hit the bag constantly. And I do think it's extremely important. So I recommend the same to any kung fu person, any karate person. So the next thing, moving on, the other major difference between praying mantis kung fu and boxing is sparring. Boxing emphasizes sparring and full contact sparring and competition fighting, matches, prize fighting, all that. But with all that, the actual competing and fighting is just sparring all the way to the max level. That's just super competitive sparring. That's all it is, really. That match, that fight, that's what that is. But it's the same thing as sparring, really, but just all the way. Intensity level, everything on the line, careers on the line, it's all the way. But it's sparring. So sparring is not super emphasized in kung fu, in most traditional karate, and also a lot of Filipino martial arts. Okay, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It does. It 100% does in all three of those, in kung fu, karate, and Filipino martial arts. But it's not as emphasized as boxing. Now there are some styles of karate where they do a lot of sparring. Maybe as much as boxing, but traditional wise, no, it's not. Same with kung fu. Yeah, there's sanda, sanshao, yes, but I'm just saying on traditional, normal. Same with Filipino martial arts, but and that's where I do believe 100% that full contact sparring, you need to experience it if you're serious about using your skills in a real life situation. You need to experience it. You need to know what it's like, how much faster things become, how much more intense, what another person's force and aggression feels like, what it's like to hit another human being that's fighting back at you, that's defending, that's moving out of the way, that's trying not to get hit, that's resisting everything that you do, all of that's trying to trick you and all that kind of stuff. You got to experience that for sure. But once you experience it, I'm got to go with the traditional people that's not the smartest way to train. With a punching bag, I really don't see why you wouldn't do it. The sparring wise, I definitely see why you wouldn't do it, because you're going to get injured. It's very dangerous. And, if I do full contact sparring right now, would it make my combat abilities better? Yeah, without a doubt. Is it worth it? 100% no. At my age right now, there's no way that I think it's worth it. So I would never do it, So then, if you can't do full contact sparring, what's next? Well, I feel like the traditional martial arts people have thought of many ways to try to get as close as possible to full contact sparring without actually doing that. And so some of it may be like the intensity level, the controlling of adrenaline and not being able to breathe well and stuff, the pressure to simulate that, they stand and meditate under a waterfall, you know? I mean, that's some scary stuff right there. A freaking log could fall on your head and kill you, you know? Um, but I still think, on average, it's safer than full contact sparring, uh, you know, that you're constantly doing. Let's say you do it 5 days a week, you know, or maybe even 3 days a week, that the meditation under a waterfall is actually safer, you know, under icy cold waterfall. So, um, yeah, they found ways. There's drills, you know, very specific drills where they just took a very small portion of sparring and they just do that, you know. Or there's other things that they do. Another one is choreography, where we do a set pattern. You and I will do a set pattern, and we work it. We work it. We do that pattern over and over until we know it like the back of our hands. We are like stage performers. We could go on Broadway and do this thing in front of a live audience where our heart's going to be pumping, okay? And we do it, and we got to make it look good, and we're putting in emotion, and we're rah, you know, screaming and yelling as we do it. That is as close as you can get in a certain way to full contact sparring. So people knock that stuff, you know, and look down on choreography training, but choreography training is 1,000 times safer than full contact sparring, yet it gives you some of the things that you need that will help you in a real life situation. So, you know, if you think about things like that, I went from traditional to full contact sparring, and then now, you know, definitely came back to traditional, and I'm seeing the benefits of the traditional way, you know, and choreography is definitely one of those. But you have to understand the difference between choreography and the real thing. And there's so many people that only have done choreography and they think that's the way it's going to be in real life. Um, I've had people, you know, basically threaten me and say, you know, that they were going to beat my ass to the ground and stuff. And I'm kind of like, but you, yeah, you do martial arts, but you don't do full contact, you know. Um, I think you're going to be in big trouble, you know, because you don't in your mind, this is, you're thinking like in a fantasy world, you know, you're way off reality, you know. So just want you to know, but once you've experienced the real stuff and then you go back to the choreography training, it's a very, very, very smart, beneficial way of training, in my opinion. So watching the praying mantis kung fu guy, all he was doing was forms, but you know, I definitely saw that it could be highly, highly beneficial. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. That's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.